Hello everyone, I'm George Kenner. I'm an industrial arts addict. I've been working for years to set up the perfect shop out in my garage, and I think I almost got it. I jumped into 3D printing and I wanted to design some of the items for my shop myself. Introduction Fusion 360. The problem that I had was I could only find point and click tutorials on YouTube. I lacked the basic function of why this program was developed. I reached out in a Facebook group for some paid tutorials. I got taken advantage of. Someone from India offered me tutorials at $15 an hour. I thought, well, why not give it a try? Before I could take the first lesson, it was going to cost me $130. Well, they got me for $15. I went back into the group and shared what had happened to me. And Swami, the instructor in the course that you're about to watch, offered to take me through the process and the background of Fusion 360 for free. This introduction is going to be on all of the tutorials, each one slightly different. The first one is going to start at the very basics of why it was even developed and the learning process that you'll go through. This will be about a 4-hour college course. Swami is very good. I asked some nonsensical questions. Maybe they'll benefit you, maybe they won't. But this course will give you the very foundation that I was looking for. It's not point and click. Again, it'll be the same introduction for each one of the courses. Swami's contacts will be placed down in the description should you want to have them. Of course, I'd love to have you join me in my pursuit of the industrial arts on my channel, but that's not the reason. Swami was nice enough to give this to me, to give everyone a better understanding of why Fusion 360 and how to use it. There's a lot of little jewels in here.
So let me share my screen. The way it's going to go is I'm going to do stuff and you're going to follow along.
Okay.
So you should be seeing my screen. If you can get side by side, get your Fusion up. I have here those two documents. One is the topics, and this is sort of an in order how we're going to cover things.
Okay.
You don't have to look at it all the time. What I just refer more for me to refer to and see what's next and what I might have missed. And then the other document is the overview, which we're going to go over. Again, you don't have to read everything. It can be for reference after. So I'm going to cover the essentials of this overview so we have a proper framing of where we're going and how we're going to do things.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm not normal. I'm different. My approach is different to seeing things sometimes, but I hope that they have a value, that they can be better in some regard. And so one main thing that I noted earlier was this is going to be concept focused.
Okay.
So you have the proper understanding. So we have concept and we have concrete.
Okay.
And a lot of YouTubes are concrete point and click recipes. And there's value and those work fine, but if you're not doing the same recipe or you don't have all the ingredients or your appliances aren't working, then you're stuck.
Sure.
You're hammering away with your nose on the bark, getting nowhere, and the solution is with a saw on the tree way over there, but you can't see it from that narrow concrete thinking. So I make this distinction between the concept and the concrete, and the concept is like the idea. And the concrete are the various different ways you can do that idea. If you just jump into the concrete without understanding conceptually, you're not necessarily going to get an optimal outcome solution.
Gotcha.
And the concept is somewhat general and abstract. It's more talking about the relationships between things and not the things themselves. So if you establish that understanding at that relationship stage, then you can figure out what concrete things you do to realize that.
Okay.
So teaching you to fish and not just feeding you fish.
I got
Now, so there, Now, another part of the approach is going to be holistic. We want to understand the system of 3D CAD. What are the parts? How do they relate to each other? What makes them different than maybe some other way of doing modeling? Too many people naively lump things together and don't acknowledge or recognize the differences that make a difference. So some people have 30 years of AutoCAD experience and they say, why does this program suck? Well, they're trying to apply a familiar square peg in a shiny new round hole, and they don't go together. So 3D CAD is a specific way of thinking and doing. In fact, it's a way of thinking and doing that you can't have real world experience in, like at a wood shop with your dad or something growing up. You think and do things in a certain way. In 3D CAD, there's certain implementations that can only be done in a computer. And we'll get to those. But the point is, you have to learn that system holistically and the tools and how to use them in order to realize your design intent in efficient, effective, and productive ways.
Okay.
Right? That's the end goal, is typically to get whatever your design intent is and make it in the real world. And so this conceptual understanding, this holistic understanding, then will allow you to attack a wide range of problems because you have this general way of understanding and thinking, and then you can dig into the details. So there we go. As far as learning, more broadly, philosophically, everything I learned I didn't know before, and confusion is part of learning. So embrace it, don't push back. So I'm kind of a learning machine. I can approach all kinds of different, widely different subjects and learn them to a fair degree fairly quickly. And then I come from a family of teachers and I have the ability to share that in ways that other people can understand and benefit from. So, so that's the deal. And if I do my job right, you don't need me anymore. Yeah. And depending on questions and things along the way, it can be more, but 2-ish hours or so. And it is best to do it in one go if you're of that nature, because you have it all nicely collected in your one talk. Philosophy's ways of thinking, and you apply those ways of thinking to your benefit. So that's kind of the overview. The lesson itself is going to be very simple on purpose, to get away all the distractions and focus just on the essence of what we're trying to learn. So try to resist the urge to say, oh, I've seen that, I already know that, I don't have to pay much attention. Because I'm trying to get at some underlying connections of things that has this broader value. So, make a line. Oh, I've already made a line. Well, but there's a reason to the things I'm doing and the way I'm connecting the things I'm doing. And I'm intentionally keeping them simple. Now we build on it, but to the extent that I can, I'm keeping it simple so that we can focus on the things of interest and not get sidetracked.
Perfect.
So that's another approach of mine that might be a little different. And then after, you can take notes in whatever fashion you like, mental or otherwise. I will be sending a resources document or thing in the Facebook chat with some of the fundamental things we talk about and some links and whatnot. But to the extent that you like to have a broader capture of things as we go, I see you can pencil and paper it, however you like. And you can slow me down at any time, ask questions at any time, at the knowledge that it may take longer than otherwise. But again, I don't care how long it takes. With rule 0, so I'm going to go to my Fusion. So rule 0 is save early and save often. So you want to save early in order to kick in the auto backup. And then once you're going, you want to save often so you don't lose any more than you have to. And because this is being stored off site on a server in the cloud, you're not taking up any storage on your system, so you can save as often as much as you want. It's not going to be a problem in that way. And in the save early and save often, we're going to look at the nature of these dialog boxes, hotkeys. You have system hotkeys, you have default Fusion hotkeys, and then you can make your own hotkeys. So in order to be efficient, you want to have hotkeys if you're a hotkey person. in the process of saving here, we're going to look at the data structure and the data management, how things are saved and structured, where they're saved and structured, how do you get at them? Too many people just jump in and they say save, and it goes to some default place, and they get a whole bunch of unrelated stuff piled in the same container, in the same project, and that's not very effective or efficient. So we're going to do the classic save is Control S, and then we're going to look at the dialog box. And so at the top it says save. You've got an active field that says name, and it's waiting for you to type. You don't want to click in there because it's already waiting for you to type over it. And we have very importantly a section that says location. What does your location say?
Oh, you want me to?
Yep, go ahead and do a Control S. Yeah, this is the part where you're going to follow along with me and mimic what I'm doing.
It says admin project.
So that is the default project, and that's the one that people who don't know the system end up throwing unrelated things all in the same place.
Okay.
So we don't want to do that. So go ahead and hit cancel. And in the upper left of your screen, you should see a little grid of squares, says a data panel. Click on that one.
Upper left.
Yep, in the very upper left, you should see a little grid of squares. And if the zoom is in the way, get it out of the way. But at the very top left of your Fusion, you should see a little grid of 3x3 squares, and you hover, and it says show data panel.
Okay. Panel. So I hit it and it says common, unsaved.
So you found it. You found it. You're now in the data panel. Have you ever been in here before?
No.
Okay. So at the top of the data panel, do you see a little home icon, or do you see my recent data?
I have one that says, it says
What's at the top?
common, and then there's a thing that says new schematic, create. It looks like 2 file saving devices, the one that's locked and the thing that says unsaved.
No, you should be, look at my screen here. You should be seeing the data panel right here. And there's a big blue button that says new project. You should be seeing this on the left of your screen.
Okay.
This is your data panel.
I went into the square.
And up comes the data panel.
So if I go to, you're talking, it says hide data panel. So if I open it, it takes me to the data panel, correct?
That's right. Show data panel.
Okay. Then when I click on that, it says common, untitled, and there's a show. Oh.
Right. Do you see a thing that says my recent data in there?
No.
Do you see a little home icon like I'm showing here?
No.
I'm going to stop sharing and you're going to start sharing.
Okay.
Because that will allow us to,
Where?
so you can do Alt S, make the Zoom the active app. So it will recognize your hotkey, and then that will be Alt S for share, and that'll toggle you. And when you're done, you'll stop sharing and I'll start sharing again. But
It is not for personal use.
this is where we bop back and forth and you share and I get to see what you're seeing. We can't both share at the same time. There you go. It's coming up now. All right. So I'm looking at your Fusion. Okay, there you go. So on the left there is that little home icon.
Okay.
Don't click it, just recognize. Yeah, don't click it, just recognize it. So this is similar on your Windows File Explorer where you see My Computer or your C drive. That's your home, right? That's the top of everything. And then you have your path to go to your subdirectories and whatnot.
Okay.
So go ahead and click on the home icon to take you to the top level of everything. Now you see your admin projects and stuff is going to be in there.
Okay.
See at the top, admin projects, scroll up even higher.
Have all projects, new projects.
You can scroll up higher. There's a scroller on the right bar, or you can use your middle mouse roller. You've got more above. There you go.
Okay.
All the way to the top, other direction, all the way up. There you go. So now you have my recent data, etc.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and stop sharing yours and I'll share mine again. We're on the same page. All right, there we go. There we go. Here we go. There we go. All right, you can see my Fusion now and my mouse moving.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to go back home. So I have a bunch of other stuff here. So your data is on a server somewhere else in the cloud. Fusion is cloud enabled. And there are two ways to get at it. One is here in Fusion,
Okay.
and the other is online. There's a website that lets you do that. We'll get to there. But anyhow, you want to go now and make a new project with the big button, new project, big blue button.
You want me to do that now?
Yeah, go ahead and do that now. And Fusion primer with Swami, whatever makes sense to you. I'll try not to micromanage your labeling of things. It has to make sense to you. And
Yep,
once you
Swami.
once you create it, great. Once you create it, then you have to double click to go into it, just like in the File Explorer. When you make a new folder, you have to double click to get into it. And I am going to go down to where I have stuff for this here and here. So now you have nothing in your data panel because you just created this project. You have your home icon, and then you have the name of the project. Yep. See those? If you're in the project, you should see the home icon and the name of the project.
I'm in, it says new project. So if I see Swami down at the bottom, so I open Swami.
Yep. Go ahead and double click to get into the project.
Okay, so now I have basically what you have is
Right.
Yogi and
Right.
Swami.
Yep. There's nothing in your data panel. It's empty right now.
Yeah, it's empty.
But you have the home. This is your path. You're at the top of the home, and now you made one project off that. Okay. Now, the project is a container at some more fundamental level. In fact, I'm going to talk a lot about containers. In Fusion, you can have sub-containers.
Okay.
The first one is called project, and you can make new folders. It says up there at the top there, new folder. You don't have to right now. We don't need it in this case, but you can make sub, a hierarchy going in. There's a slight difference between a project and a folder. We're not going to get into it, but they've named them differently. In Windows, you just have folders all the way down. You don't make a distinction. In Fusion, the first project one has some special things about it, but it's a container. And if you needed other containers, you make new folders inside the project. So that's how that thinking is. So Fusion is going to do some things the same end goal, but maybe there's slightly different ways it does it.
Okay.
And again, this is where if you understand conceptually, then you can distinguish those little differences they do concretely and not get lost.
Okay.
Okay. So rule number one or 0 is save. So now do Control S, and you don't type anything yet. Now it should say location and show where the project you just made. It's broken down into workspaces. In fact, while we're here, it says design. If you click on that button that says design at the top left, there's a big yellow, just click once. Don't anymore, but those are the different workspaces.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one for manufacture, that's your CNC work, etc.
Okay.
So you can click away from there. So when you start the program, it should get you by default into the design workspace.
Okay.
Cool. You can click away in the center. So if I say click in nowhere space, that means just click away from any controls or anything, just to cancel something, or you can hit the escape key sometimes. So now you have a bunch of tabs. You don't have to click them, but you can look at them: solid, surface, mesh, sheet metal, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Those are different contexts within the workspace. So you want to be in a certain workspace, then you want to know what context you're in, and then you do stuff. And you've got a bunch of tools there on the toolbar. And those come from the drop-down menus that say create, modify, assemble. Click on the create just to see that they're drop-down menus. There you go. So inside there are various tools and features. And by default, some of them are handy for you in the toolbar. And you can remove or add as your workflow deems appropriate.
Okay.
Cool. So now you can click away. So now you are at the point where you can say Control S. There you go. All right. You can stop sharing and I'll start sharing. Yeah, that wasn't your fault. You were in some weird mode. I don't know how it got there, but it was not standard. All right. We're getting somewhere now. So now in this dialogue, there's a few things we want to note. One is there's an active field and you don't want to click in here. It's just waiting for you. It's already highlighted it for you. So you don't want to click it. So the other thing you want to notice, but don't click anything yet, is there is an active button highlighted in blue on my screen here called Save. So every dialogue is going to generally have one highlighted field waiting for you to type and one active button. When we look in the location, it's now in Yogi and Swami, right?
Yep.
And then the name, I'm going to name mine George. You can name it whatever you want. This is the name of the file. This is the top level name of your file. And now, the less you move your mouse, the faster you go, just hit enter, because that active button is going to be recognized by the enter. You don't have to move your mouse over to it.
So now I'm generating a save file on the left-hand side named George.
Yep. At the top center of your screen, you have a tab for every file, and it has the file name, and it says V1, version 1.
Exactly.
So this is really important along the way. You're going to want to do version control. And the way it typically works is you say version 1, and then you make a copy and you rename it version 2, and you make a copy 3, 4, etc.
Okay.
And they're separate files. Fusion doesn't do it that way. It makes one top level file. If you go over to your data panel on the left, you'll see a little V1. Click on that to open it. And we don't have any other versions, but as you do new versions, you get V2, V3, V4, all inside that first save.
Okay.
And you can go back. If you mess up here, you can bring one of these back to the top. So you're doing version control, but it's not separate files like normal. It's all inside one container,
Okay.
inside one file. Go ahead and click it again. It'll close it. And above that V is a little globe with an eyeball. Hover over that. That says open on the web. Go ahead and click that one. We're going to go in and out of here, but I just want to let you be aware of it. This is the second way to get at the common store of data in the cloud.
Okay.
Scheduled maintenance, September 7, blah, blah, blah. Can I close this out? Ignore that if you have a no. Oh, here we go. There's the X. All right. So we have a lot of the same functionality plus some extra stuff. But we have over in the left, you have your project and your files. Oh, look at this. Mine's not even populated. That's weird. Mine is not showing. Is it taking time to load up stuff? Does yours have a bunch of untitled stuff, or is yours working correctly? Mine has some weird stuff going on.
Well,
Do you see a bunch of untitled?
I just open it up and mine just has one file. It says George. It says welcome to the Fusion team. View, share, and review. Gives me an
Okay,
option.
good.
It's like the first time in here, so it's like prompting me through the how it works.
Okay, so mine is the only one that's looking funny. So back to the point. This is another way to get at the common store of your files.
Okay.
Now, Fusion at a higher level is not a modeler. It's a cloud-based project collaboration system. It's a team. You can have team members, you can give them privileges of access, etc. You can communicate with each other. Some of that stuff you have to do here in the web client.
Okay.
But you can also do creating and naming and moving and a bunch of the same stuff you can do in Fusion.
Okay.
But just so you know, it's here. Sometimes, rarely, but sometimes you have to come in here to do stuff.
Okay.
So we can go back to Fusion. That was just to let you know that the data is stored in a common place in the cloud on a server, and you have these two ways to get at it. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and close the data panel. You have a little X to close that one, get some real estate back. Now here is rule number one. Rule number one is make components. And this confuses a lot of early users. And it's simple. A component is a container for things. Things like sketches and geometry bodies and whatnot. And this is super fundamental, especially to fusion this terminology and the concept. A component is a container for things. And there are many good reasons that we'll discover along the way that you want to do this. There is no hotkey for it, and we do it a lot, so we're going to make one. So go ahead and make your way up to the top left under the Create drop-down and click that open. And if you see in there, like under Extrude, it's got E for Extrude. So that's a default system fusion one. But if you look at the very top one, yours does not have anything for new component. It's the first item in the list. If you hover over it, you get three little dots on the right there. Click on those three little dots and it opens up a little menu. And click on the last item for shortcuts.
Change
right there.
keyboard shortcut.
Yep, do that one.
Okay.
Up comes a dialog. Click in this big long blue field to make it active. And hold the Shift key and the C as in component, and it will populate it with Shift plus C. If there's a conflict with an existing shortcut, it will tell you, and you get to decide whether you use that one or not, and whether you want to overwrite it or not. I don't think there's any conflict. Does it give you a conflict?
Nope.
Just hit enter on your keyboard. And now do Shift C. And now you get a dialog that says new component.
Exactly. It's what
And go up to where it says name. You can just hit the tab key. So the tab is Shift tab takes you through different places in there. However you do it, you get to where it says name, and the default is component one. I'm going to name it part one because I know I'm going to have two parts at the end of this thing. Okay. And I'm going to do it as part one. Enter. And now on the left, you should see part one on your tree on the left.
Got it.
And at the top of your screen, where it has your file name, there's a little asterisk at the end, a little star. That means unsaved changes. That's a Windows OS thing. That means unsaved changes. So go ahead and do Control S, enter. You could type a label in there that says made hotkey or something.
So but save, and then it says version description user saved. I don't need to change that title, just hit enter, right?
Just hit enter. You could give it a label. You could say, I did so and such at this time, let's say, and you save again. But I found I never really needed it. I could, if I needed to go back in versions, I didn't have to go back very far, and I didn't need all those labels. I could just get at it.
I got you.
So it's a personal preference of my workflow. Okay. And so now it should say V2 at the top center in your title bar without any asterisk.
It does.
Very well. So if you ever wondered, did I save? That is one way to let you know. Excellent. So the next thing I'm going to do is you watch for a minute or two, and I'll show you how fast it is to make a shape and extrude it the quick way. If you do it the slow way, you go here and you say create, go here, you say create a sketch, and then you go here and you say make a circle, and you do a lot of stuff that's not necessary. So just watch for the moment, and then I'll let you repeat it with hotkeys and whatnot. I say C for circle. I click there. I make my circle. I hit E for extrude, and I give it a number, and I hit enter. So within 5-10 seconds, I did what might take 30 seconds or something if you clicked and went all the way around. We are going to undo that. I can do Control Z, just keep watching and then listening. I can do Control Z to go back one step, but there's actually a list up here in the top left for undo and redo. If I click the little triangle, I get back in time all the things that I did. So I don't have to do a bunch of Control Z's necessarily, especially if I did a whole bunch of stuff I want to undo. I can go to that list and I can go right back. So part of what we're going to focus on is efficiency in the interface and understand the things and how to use them and be quick about it. All right. So now we are both at the same place, and we're going to do what I did, but we're going to stop along the way so we can learn why we did it and what happens. Go ahead and hit C on your keyboard and then just let go and let your mouse hang out. And so right now your cursor has changed, has a little icon showing a kind of circle. And there's a little tool tip that's instructing you select a plane or planar face.
Exactly.
And we're looking at a coordinate system grid with X, Y, and Z, red, green, and blue axes, and then the 3 coordinate planes in orange. If you hover over top of one, don't click, but just hover, it's going to highlight them. If you can't get at them, you can actually make a circle around them and it will highlight them depending on where you are, but you're not on them. Sometimes they're behind stuff. So do it, get your mouse maybe down at the bottom right for me, where that bottom flat ground plane is. That's your XY ground plane.
Okay, so is mine, difference in my screen and your screen is the orientation of the green, red, and blue
yes.
line are different.
Yeah, you had set me, so let's fix that. Good eyeball.